Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a cracking day. I'm having a brilliant time, a really good session. So just taking you in the right room. I'm here to talk to you about nothing technical and just to talk to you about what you can do as Go Live practices to support your delivery team. So if you're not in the right room, you may leave now. Otherwise, you're stuck with me. So I'm Jenny Guisquet. I'm the head of customer success at VAS. VAS is a global system administrator. And my role at VAS is just to make sure that all customer or Salesforce customer are successful with their platforms. My background really is I've been a customer of Salesforce for 10 years. And I've been in sales and operation roles, in leadership roles, and I had Salesforce done to me, and as part of my consultancy work, I had done Salesforce to others. So I hope I'm bringing a bit of a two-side to the story today with what I'm going to share with you. And yes, I have notes, because although I'm very excited, I'm also quite nervous. What do I want to say? Yes, you will see that if you're anything like me, I do like to take pictures when I go to other people's sessions. So you will see my slides are actually been by design quite wordy so that you guys can take pictures and review some stuff in the future. So it's actually by design that I've left quite a few information on it. So this is the agenda for today. So basically, I want to talk to you about how can we complement your technical delivery with other type of activity to accelerate the success of the Salesforce implementation and accelerate time to value for our customers. The agenda will be very much the following. So I'm going to talk to you about a client that I had experience with, and the whole session is going to be based on that example of that client. I'm going to talk to the Go Live process as well. So I'm going to mention some of the technical aspects, but also what we can do that are non-technical to support that. And then I'm going to discuss as well with you the best practice that I use. I've become very familiar with what I call my 5 pillars, and I'm going to deep dive into those 5 pillars in the rest of the session, basically. And at the end, I will leave you with a little gift. There's the little checklist, which you're most welcome to take a picture of and take away, and it's a bit of a recap of the session, really. So this case study, I'm just going to tell you my experience of dealing with this client, okay? And what we're trying to achieve is just to make sure the platform that we implement was as successful as possible. So this is the client background. So it's a large insurer, and they wanted to review their lead-to-quote process for the B2B channel. They were based in 7 different regions, and that spanned from Asia-Pac to Middle East to Africa and Europe, so a really, really large footprint across the world. And what they were trying to do really was to focus on accelerating the upselling and the cross-selling in their multinational accounts. So they wanted to get the different region and department to collaborate on those opportunities. Now, those regions, we had different time zones to deal with. We had different culture, different legacy process as well to handle, different regulatory obligation. So the way you sell insurance in Dubai is very different than the way you sell insurance in Europe. So we had to keep that in mind. But most importantly, we had some very, very different business readiness level in terms of appetite to technology, readiness to have the change being embedded in processes, etc. So I'm going to talk to you about that as well. But this is just to give you a bit of the background on the client that we're going to talk about today. Just so that I can gauge, actually, that will help me. I'd quite like to understand who has got more of a technical background and who's more in tech and who's more of a business person, less techie. So if you could put your hands up if you are a tech person. I've got quite a lot of you, actually. That's nice. Thank you for coming to see me. And who's more on the business side then? Okay, great. Right, so apologies to the tech people. I'm just going to botch what you're doing a little bit there. I'm just going to, for the non-tech here, I'm just going to talk about the technical Go Live in accelerated. You guys do more than that, but this is just a high level. So usually in a technical delivery, you will configure systems and you will do all the necessary checks before you go live, obviously. You will check all of your integration points, make sure the data flows nicely between all the apps. You also make sure that you do all of your system checks. You do your testing and your UAT. You have a rollback plan. And you have a rollout procedures as well that you follow. And then eventually, when everything is ready and everyone's happy, you soft go live. So you get the app ready and live, but it's not deployed to the business yet. And with this client, it was quite an expensive project, and the CFO, it was difficult to get a check out of him, and he really wanted to make sure that the investment and the amount of money that he spent, that this investment would definitely give him some return on investment. So we did additional work for him, and we wanted to very much support all the technical team with other activity, non-technical activity, to again accelerate time to value, maximize the benefit realization, and just optimize the success really. So the type of things we ask ourselves with this particular project, where, how do we ensure the systems, the classic things, how do we ensure that the system is adopted and well embedded in the processes across all the region? How do we protect the integrity of the data? A large portion of that project was around MI and reporting, so it was obviously the quality of the data is paramount. And sometimes sales users don't necessarily care about what they input in the systems. What's the life after go live, So they never really had a CRM before. And it's a bit like, when you have a baby, you spend 3 days in hospital, and you come back home and you just, what's next? What do I do? So, what does the, life after go live looks for them? What kind of support they have? What kind of team they have in situ to pilot the platform, really? And effectively, what we really wanted to do was just to make sure that we deliver business value and realize all the outcome that was set up in the business case by the CFO. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this slide, but here, all I want to say is the top in blue is what happened during the technical delivery. So you have the delivery team, doing what they need to be doing, the requirement and the build, etc. And then they go live and they do all the deployment activity. And then usually you move into hypercare for 10 days, 30 days, 60 days, depends. And then the project ends, and then the customer end up into BAU. Here in red is what I want to talk to you about today. So it's just all the other activity that you can do that are non-technical, that can really accelerate and supercharge your technical delivery. So as you see, there's things that you can do that start well before the go live, during the delivery process. But there's also a lot of things that you need to do, or you can do, post go live and after, to support and accelerate all of that good stuff. So those are my 5 key pillars. That's what I think about when I think about how can I optimize, how can I support the delivery team, and how can I optimize what we are delivering. I always revert back to those pillars, and it's based, on my last 10 years of working in the client side and in the consultancy side. Sometimes I use 2 of those pillars for smaller projects or less complex projects. Sometimes I add another 3 or 4. It will depend, but very often I just like those 5. They feel familiar, and there's always this always something that is in the back of my mind when I try to support success. So I'm going to spend the next 8 or 10 minutes talking about each of them in more detail, and feel free to take any pictures. And this is where it gets a bit wordy, right? So, in terms of business readiness, what do we mean by business readiness, right? So what we mean is that, is the business ready to have the new platform rolled out? How do the users feel about the change? Are they anxious? Are they nervous? Are they excited? Are they going to welcome it? Are they willing to support the new ways of working, or are they stuck in their ways? But there's also things like, can end users actually cognitively absorb the change? In particular, for that project, we were working mainly with salespeople. And there were a couple of regions in sales that had really high targets. I think they had a 500% increase compared to the previous year. So how do we make sure that people that are so focused on delivering target can actually, also deal with the change? So that was a real challenge, and that's, something that we had to look at. Do they have the capacity? So what did we do what did we do? The best thing you can do in those situations, and in particular when you have like a really large organization like that with different regions and different departments, is just simply to run a business readiness assessment. So this is what we did, and we went through all the different questions that I've just mentioned, and we surveyed every department and every regions to really understand the status quo and have a baseline. And we had lots of information. And then we did an analysis on this outcome, and on the back of this, that really changed actually how we perceive the project. It really helped us with the actual deployment strategy. So we decided to, not that we wanted to do a big bang deployment anyway, but it really helped us phasing out which region we will do first, in which order, etc. So we had a phased rollout, and it was based on the information we had on the back of that business readiness assessment. That also shaped our training strategy, our communication strategy, and all the engagement that we did with the stakeholders over the next 18 months, basically. So that was a very useful exercise. And that underpinned every other piece of work we did, basically. UAT. So traditionally, UAT is led by delivery. So you're probably thinking, why is she talking about UAT? Well, because UAT, here again, it was really important that, question that we ask ourselves were, will the user be willing to attend the UAT? Again, I don't mean to be judgmental. I used to be a salesperson, but when you have high target and that's your priority, do you really want to spend an hour, 2 hours a day for a week to do some UAT? So how do we maximize attendance? How do we make palatable for the salespeople to actually take some time out to do that? Do they understand the importance of UAT? Do they know that if the UAT is not really well done, there's a chance that there's going to be a problem when we go live, and then some rebuild, And then another thing as well, I call it the training bottleneck, is how do we reduce the chance of, when we go to the end of the training and we deploy the platform and the training happens, how do we make sure that it's not the first time that the user is actually looking at the platform? How can we make sure they're already familiar with it so that the training is more impactful and the time to competency is accelerated as well? So what we did for this is basically we just simply work very closely with the delivery team, and we did a lot of engagement with middle managers. We attended team meeting to explain the role of UAT to end users because they don't always understand why it's so important. So extra communication and a lot of engagement and buying from the direct line managers, that was very key to do. So talking about communication, again, it's a large organization. You've got 7 regions, lots of departments, thousands of end users. Everyone's some people might not have heard that there were a technology change coming in. Some people knew about the initiatives. There were different level of understanding. So, what we wanted to understand is how aware are they of the initiative? Do they understand the impact of the change on their day-to-day role and what it means for them? Are they worried and concerned about it? And how does that tech initiative align with any wider business objectives? And why is it important? Why do we need to change? Why is it that the way we're doing now is not good anymore and we need to change? And also, are we saying anything to a customer? Do a customer need to know? So there's all those questions that were coming up. So again, in terms of action, what did we do? Then we used the business readiness outcome once more, and we designed a very robust and tailored communication plan to accommodate for all of those questions, all the different variants that we had across a different region and a different department. What we also did is throughout the whole delivery, every time we were reaching a key milestone and build a certain functionality, we were shouting through the roof about it. So lots of communication again. And I think I've heard something like, it takes 7 times for a message to actually be absorbed. So we completely over-communicated to death to them. So every time we reached a milestone, we just communicated this. And then another thing we did, and that was quite fun actually, is just before the go live, when we were about to reach the go live, we did like a countdown. And this countdown was made out of little video snippet of key senior stakeholders. And every week, 6 weeks before, 5 weeks before, 4 weeks before, we dropped those little video and those little message to get the excitement and the engagement of the users, and also making sure that everyone was participating. We made a big deal out of it, and that was quite fun. Training and enablement, classic. There's so many different user groups, so many departments, we didn't have only the sales guys in there, we also had financial people and the writers, I believe, as well. We had a few categories and a few pockets. So how do we make sure that the training that we deliver is just not like a how do you call that in English? Like a plain training, generic training, that's it. But how do you make sure that you tailor it so that it's got the most impact? Has anything come out of the business readiness survey that we need to take into consideration? And in this case, we did actually. We clocked a couple of detractors, I'm going to call, people that were quite vocal about, I like my Post-it note and I like my spreadsheet, and I don't really want or need a system, and I've got really high sales target. So how do you deal with those detractors? How do you neutralize that before you impact, negatively on the effort of everyone else? So this is kind of what we did to resolve those, answer those questions. So first of all, during the delivery, we built a training. We did some training session, not to train about Salesforce necessarily, but to actually engage the end users, to explain actually who is Salesforce. Some people never heard of Salesforce. Why is it? What are they doing? Who's Salesforce working with? Oh, they work with our competitors. Okay. And also, what's an opportunity object? What's an account object? All of those new terms, all of the Salesforce lingo that if you never heard of it, you never heard of it. So we did prep and create some sort of baseline and common ground for everyone. So that was well before the go live. And then we obviously create some training plan that were tailored for each department and each country. Is that The Shining or something? What's going on? Sorry. Thank you. Okay? I'm gonna carry on. What we did as well is, and that was really impactful, and I advise anyone to do that, whether the organization that you're working with is large or small, is just to create a champion community. There's so many benefits to it. Some of the benefits that we find was that because the training effort was humongous, because it was multiple regions, different countries, different departments, we created some super users or some champion that could act as a trainer for us, and they were a point of contact to deliver the training. So that was really useful. But what we did as well, on the back of that, organically, we kind of started to build the in-house capability of the organization. So we started to elevate the knowledge by creating those super users. And something I really like that we did is that, those detractors that I told you about, we actually kind of nominate them to be champions, so that at the end of it, we turn one of them into an advocate, actually, and that was very satisfying. But that really helped. I think this is the last pillar I want to talk about. So it's around embedding activity. So this is usually at the end, once you've gone live, that's usually what you do after you've gone live. And some of the questions, so what do I mean by that, right, is how can we ensure that the Salesforce platform, once it's deployed, is very well embedded in the process, not just sitting on the side? How does it deliver the value? How does it meet all the KPIs that we said we will deliver and that were part of the business case? Now, how can we ensure as well that the salespeople and all the end users are using the platform the way it should be used, that they're not taking any shortcut, that they're not putting any fantasy data in it? How do we make sure the data integrity is not compromised? And then the last one, which is very important for the longer term success, is how do we create a CRM culture within the organization? So at the beginning, and I'm sure you would have experienced that as well, is end users see the platform as an admin thing. Oh, it's yet something I have to do. It's a system of record. I have to do that for my manager so that he knows how I'm performing. We wanted to shift that. We wanted that system of record to become a system of engagement and a system that they actually say, oh, wow, hang on, I can do this and that, amazing. And so that could enhance the performance. And that's really important for the longevity and the success of a platform. So what kind of action did we take? So there's been some drastic things, actually, that we had to do at some point. Some of them were around organizational design and roles and responsibilities. So we realized that the way the teams were set up couldn't necessarily work with the new with a new process. So we had to change some roles and responsibility and separate some admin tasks for the sales team and create an admin team. So there's been some things like that had to be done just again to really optimize the tech investment really. We even had to change the bonus commission. So for example, before Salesforce, it was just the sales guys were paid on, on revenue. You sell, you get a commission. The post-Salesforce, because it was so important that we keep the data integrity, that we use best practice, because we were really trying to harmonize all the sales process and all the lead to cash, lead to quote process across all of the organization, we had to change everyone's bonus structure and include 20% of the bonus based on the way they use Salesforce. And that was a change of culture, right? The whole thing took 18 months, or even longer than that. We went creative as well. On launch day, we launched an incentive. We launched an incentive, and that was really fun. We had a theme that was a Formula One theme, and it was a 6-week incentive. And again, it was just to help people to create a bit of competition between all the region. The first person who sell an opportunity, who set up an opportunity, the salesperson will make a sales. I mean, you get it. So there were prizes associated with that, and it was a bit of a league table across all the regions. So we really made it a big, and we had we made that job actually was, we gave it to the champion, the community to come up with, and they really enjoyed doing that. They felt really engaged. We made sure that we track all the KPIs, so that was really important. So we set up dashboard and reporting to make sure that we could track all of those KPIs that we talked about for the first, months, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 years, so that we can evidence that, so that we can rebuild another business case to ask for more fundings. And finally, we really engage with the direct line managers. I mean, you have to lead by example. If you don't have sponsorship from the top, then your people are not going to, if you say, do what I do, but not what I say. Is that what you say? Do what I do? Yeah, do what I say, but not what I do. That's it. Then, people want what it won't stick. So you have to lead by example. So we did ask all the executive, all the middle managers, every time they had a meeting, etc., you bring Salesforce up, you talk about it, you do your own stuff on Salesforce, etc., and that was really important in that shift of, mindset shift and change of culture. So there you go. I mean, if you want to take your camera out, I think that's a useful slide, but I'll leave it to you to decide. This is kind of a little checklist of what you can do, and just a reminder of things you can do before a go live, during the go live, and post go live. I'm not going to go into all of that because it's just a summary of what I just said. But I would say my favorite thing is what you do on the day, because on the day it's party time and you must make it fun. You must have a party, you must have some balloon and cupcake, you must have a theme. You just make a big deal out of it because it's important, it's a large investment, and you should make it known that it's a large investment really.